Over the past year, I've been really alarmed by governments around the world increasingly attempting to impose the mass surveillance of the traditional financial system onto cryptocurrency. So that includes creating new cryptocurrency reporting requirements, increasing warrantless surveillance at choke points, and targeting decentralized exchanges and self-hosted wallets and privacy coins. So what are your thoughts on how this is evolving and why this is so important?
I think governments correctly perceive a evolving threat to traditional tools, which they've grown accustomed to in terms of sort of an ability to impose regulation upon private lives and more broadly private trade, that were never really clearly I think, accepted or debated in society. They were really more of an imposition that was provided through advances in technology, the same way that mass surveillance in general was imposed upon us, largely secretly or abstractly, through technical conversations and legal conversations that were intentionally designed to use exclusionary language, right? Like things, when a great example is you look at the Federal Reserve Board and their discussions, the kind of language that they use is intentionally meant to only be meaningful to people who follow it, right, exhaustively. And to them, they see the signals, they see the changes in the paragraphs, right? They redline the different statements, and they go, okay, here are the signals that are being sent. But to the average person who doesn't even understand, like prime interest rates or something like that, it's gobbledygook, right? And that is an end run around the democratic process. That is an end run around the idea that we have a public that is imposing a meaningful or entering into a bargain in which they grant a meaningful, informed consent to the government for its operations that are then carried out on their behalf. What we've lost is that connection to the operations of our governments. Governments have grown so large and themselves so abstract, so broad, that it's assumed no one person can understand all of the sort of different domains that government operates in. And so for the government to shelter itself from criticism for the most impactful policies that it's implementing, and this could be anything. This could be financial, this could be political, this could be technical, this could be environmental, right? They use that bureaucratic language to go, all right, well, maybe we can narrow the conversation by throwing up gates that are not strictly permissioned gates, but they are linguistic gates, right? And what if we narrow the span of people that are able to express any kind of democratic opinion here? And this is actually what leads to this huge sort of misinformation, disinformation environment that we see from the media on both sides today, is we have these interest groups that look at the world as it is and sort of the new policy developments that are being entered. They know that the average Twitter user, Reddit user, whatever, does not have the sophistication to understand what is happening here. And so what they do is they digest those communications or pre-digest them, right? And then they pass that on through sort of a bubbled lens in order to provoke a certain political response from their audiences. And this is done in a very willful, intentional way, in my opinion. And this is what leads to all the partisanship that we've seen, is there is a recognition amongst those who have influence in the world today that the system as it exists today is failing. The political structure as it exists today is failing. And so they want to be able to increase their influence to be able to structure the system that replaces what we have today. And this is all out war because this is, not even a generational question. This is a multi-generational question, who ends up with power to restructure this. And then, as you say, when we come down to this idea of financial flows as they were, where you went down to the corner store and you dropped down your 2 quarters and you came out with a handful of candy or whatever, and the only person who knew it was the shop owner who may have seen this kid come in before, to today where before you even approach the counter, politicians, right, sort of the expert class, that is involved in public communication, well, they're not comfortable going based on inference when it's a criticism of the system. And so much of that didn't get talked about. Well, now it's no longer inference, right? We have documented proof. And in a democracy where theoretically it is the people who are supposed to direct the government, elect the government, and say these are the things that matter, these are the issues that should be addressed, we can never meaningfully shift our focus and shift our policies unless we can first come to an agreement there is a problem. And we can't agree that there is a problem unless we agree on what the facts are. And if those facts are in contention, they are not documented, they are not proven, you can never sort of establish that consensus. Well, now in 2021, that consensus is well founded. Everybody knows there's a problem when you talk about digital surveillance, when we talk about offline surveillance, right? When we talk about hyper-local surveillance, when we talk about license plate readers, when we talk about Ring door cameras, being fed into police stations around the country, thanks Amazon. When we talk about Amazon Web Services, when we talk about how Amazon is taking your order flow and then they're sending that on to their own guys to compete or create competing products to people who are selling things on their stores, to Facebook, to Instagram, right, to the endless scroll on your phone that's making a more and more comprehensive dossier of your interests, of your activities, of where you were, at what time, what you were reading at what time, who you were speaking with at the time. People realize that Pandora's box is real, and it is opening, right? And all of the evils that were contained in this box are starting to escape into the atmosphere. And our job as technologists, I think, of those who have any kind of interest in this, those people who are engaged in sort of positive uses of technology that disrupt those systems of control, we need to make sure that hope remains in the box, right? The hope is the last thing that will come out that will allow us to get away from that. Just when I think about what happened between 2013 and 2021 from a person sitting behind the desk at the NSA, 2013 felt pretty hopeless. Nobody understood what was going on. The extent of surveillance was expanding every year. Our sophistication, our capability was really by orders of magnitude advancing. And meanwhile, just basic encryptions of websites was not happening on a regular basis. I just heard from my BFF staffer yesterday, Alexis, that she pulled the most recent statistics, and now, at least in some browsers, the amount of HTTPS traffic is 95%